Hi everyone, Judy Wood here. I want to take you through creating an 8-page magazine layout. It's going to have a cover, table of contents. I'll drop in a couple of ads. We're going to flow some text from text box to text box throughout the whole document. It is one article, but I'm breaking it into 3 sections here, and I'll have a back cover. Let me show you how to create this document. Command N, File New. It's going to start with our intent for print. I'm going to work with an 8.5 by 11, which is 51 by 66 picas. I'm going to give it a name. I'm just going to give this demo. If you're working with me, please use your course code, your project name, if it's project 1, P1 or P2, and your first name, last name. I'm going to leave my facing pages on here. I can include all the pages at this point, but I'm going to leave that because I want to set up my document and then I'll go ahead and build my pages. For my margins, we can work with a classic margin. We've talked about some formulas in class about how to create an inside and then build around that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my inside and my top are going to equal, and then my outside and my bottom are going to equal. I want my bottom and my outside to be slightly larger than my inside and top. So I know for my inside and top, I'm going to leave at 3, and my bottom and my outside, I'm going to pull that to 4p6. If I convert that to inches, might give you a little bit better. My top is 1/2, my inside's 1/2, my bottom 3/4, my outside 3/4. Now remember, depending on your binding, this is how another way to measure your margins. If you're working with a saddle stitch, which are 2 staples, your layout will be flat. Your margins can be tighter. If you are working with a perfect bound, which is a glued binding, that means that you're going to end up with a little bit of a bow and you'll reduce some of the real estate on your page. Therefore, you're going to have to open up this inside margin. So for this particular project, it's a saddle stitch. I can keep it nice and small. I'm going to add a bleed here. If I just click once, I'm in inches. It will give me the 0.125 inches. It is P9. If I convert that back to picas, you can see now that we're getting P9. It's 1/8 of an inch is my bleed. That's a standard bleed. We're going to go ahead and create that document. First thing I'm going to do is look at my layers, and I'm going to start with my guides. Now this is a workflow that I've used for many, many years, and it is up to you because there's lots of ways to create this. It just helps me to organize my layers straight away when I know that I have some fixed layers right away. All right, so on my guide layer, I'm going to open up my pages palette here. Let me go ahead and increase the view of this so that you can see this a little bit larger. Let's just pull this right up, and then you'll be able to see my pages and my parent page as I'm building these here. I'm going to double click right on the word A parent, and that'll bring me into the parent page. On my layers here, I'll pull that panel out as well so you can see what that looks like. On my guide layer, on my parent page, I'm going to build my guides. Now my guides, this is going to depend on your layout. A standard magazine picture grid is a 9 by 12, 9 by 13, depending on what you're working on. So I'm going to actually do my rows. I'm going to do as 12, and my columns I'm going to do as 9. I'm going to make sure that my guides fit inside my margin. Otherwise, it won't be a balanced page, right? If I look at this, it's a preview. This is no good, right? Look at how this column is halfway sitting in my margin. I want to make sure that my grids align inside my margin. I've got a 1-point gutter throughout. All right, so I now have my document set up, and it's on my guide layer, so I can turn off those guides on and off. Go back down to my pages. This is now that I've created this, I'm going to go ahead and insert pages here, and I'm going to add 7 more pages, and they're going to be all of my A parent. If I were working on a large magazine format, you may have multiple versions of your parent page, and that parent page might be a combination of different grids. It might be a a configuration that includes just the grid, but no folios, so that your page numbers don't show up on certain pages. They might be ad pages. There's lots of variations, but that's when your parent page, you may have multiple different varieties in there. Double clicking on my A parent one more time. This time I'm going to put myself on my type layer, and I'm going to build my folio here. So I'm going to go to my type tool. I can just hit T for type, and I can see that I'm pulling out a green line. My cursor is flashing. I'm going to go ahead into my type. I'm going to go down to special characters, markers, current page number. And that's going to drop in an A because I'm in the A parent as my variable placeholder here. From there, I'm going to go one more time, and this time I'm going to add a white space, and I'm going to stick an M space in there. And this is going to be the magazine title. So this is great. And now I am going to go ahead and format that text. And let's align it with, it's going to be a 9 point. Always going to manage my leading. Please make sure that you do not have, and this is going to be a light, do not have auto leading, which will be in brackets. So point size and leading both included here. Then I'm going to go into object, and I'm going to go down to text frame options, Command B or Control B, and I'm going to vertically align this center. So now I have a text box that went from my bottom margin to the bottom of the page, and it's centered. I'm going to simply hold my Option and my Shift key, drag it over to create a duplicate of that. Shift Command R will flush that right. Shift Command L will flush it left. Shift Command C will flush it centered. Again, my command is my control if you're in a PC world. So let me go ahead, and I'm just going to copy that off because I'm on the other side here. And I'm just going to go ahead and insert another M space. And this time what I might have here is my autumn issue. All right, let's have a quick look in page 1. And sure enough, yes, perfect. And at any time, if those guides are bugging me, I can just hit that and I can get a better appearance for that. That's a great start. I have my document set up. I'm about to kind of get an idea now. I've gone through here. What I want to show you is I've gone through and created my layout from my sketches. You guys created a couple sketches for us for when we were working with that initial setup. And let me turn off the guides here, and you can see that I'll also turn off my baseline grid. So I've created a couple text boxes for my headers, my side points. I've dropped in some gradient feathers here. That's just going to give some support for my text. But I've got an image that I can drop in here. Same thing here. I'm going to do a picture box, a logo, another picture box, some text, picture boxes. So making sure that I have a flow for my text, and I can see here that I've got a little bit of a problem. So this one is going to, I'm going to click on that out port. There we go. And I'm going to take that text to this text box, this out port to this text box, and that will give me the flow that I'm looking for. You're seeing these lines because I've gone under View, Extras, Show. Right now you're seeing hide text threads, but they're called, it'll say Show Text Threads. So it's just a toggle back between them. And that will make sure that when you bring your Word document in, your text will flow from one page to the next, or one text box to the next. You can see here that I've created a text box with either 2-column or 3-column. If I turn on my guide here, you can see that, well, you can't really see. Let me see if I flip these this color over to something that's a little more easier for you to see. Let me just give it a black here. There we go. So you can see that both of these text boxes align with the columns, align with the grids. They're right in the grids. All right. So with that said, next video, I'm going to help you drop everything in. So here's the demo that we were starting up here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to waste your time watching this, but I'll go through and based on my sketches, I'm going to drop in some text boxes and placeholder text or some actual text just to kind of help me through where I'm going to put this stuff. And I know that I have an ad. If you want to actually label these pages, this is the inside cover. I'm going to do an ad here, but depending on what you're doing. Again, let me just have a quick look here. I'm going to do a picture box that is going to run 5. And I've got another one that's, I'm going to show the preview of the next issue. And this one is going to cross, this is my center spread actually. So this is going to cross, and I'm going to pull this right out. It's going to have a full bleed top and sides, and it's going to cross the center spine. And then my next page, this one's going to be an inset. You can be consistent, and this one's going to go down 5. You can have bleeds or non-bleeds. Just let it work with your particular layout. And by dropping these in, you can then just simply load your images and click through and add them. All right, so there's my picture boxes. If you want to get in, I'm going to drop myself on my type layer and drop in some type boxes. I'll put a header there and some text here. And again, I'm just, because I'm using my grid, I might have to work with the image slightly, but I want to have some sort of framework when I'm working with text like this. I want to know that I'm starting with my grid. I might not have total control. I'm using my gutters. Note how I'm using these spatial zones, leaving the gutters free. But if I have to adjust it, that's okay. But at least for the most part, this is going to work. I'm going to do a little bit of, just hold my command key down here and pull this up 1 because I think I'm going to need a little more space. I'm going to pull 4 columns here, and I'm going to do maybe a pull quote, and then I will use these 5 columns. These 4 columns there as a single text box. And then on this side, let's change that up a bit. Let's go 3. And 3, Command B, Control B, and that will bring you into your text frame options. And you can change your grid. I'm going to do 2 columns here. And this should be on, these are both supposed to be on my type layer. So if I've got those both wrong, let's just open that up and slide them into the right. Notice that they are selected. There we go, much better. These are green, good, good. Now, this next one, again, another type, and this one's gonna go right across. Command B, and change that one to 3. And if you'll notice it's got the X through it, because I pulled it out, it's undeclared as far as its content. Under Object, if I go to Content, it says it's a graphic. I'm going to go ahead and make that text, and that will get rid of, and it'll give me my import, my output that I'm expecting to have on these areas. And then this is the page actually where I'm going to put in my pull quote. Again, this is where, I've asked you to be mindful of using multiple text boxes to minimize where you can, and I'm going to go ahead and just make that, and then we're going to do maybe a pull quote right here, and then we will go 4 columns for a single layout, and then I'm going to do a 5 over here. Command B, just checking, because it looks like you might, because we had predefined columns, just make sure that you're not automatically pulling out multiple columns. So now I have my text boxes in place. I want to thread them, and I'm going to simply do that by, and again, I'm only threading the article here. I'm not going to thread everything. And so again, you can see that this particular box is set for graphic. I'm going to change that, and I'm going to click on my output of my first text box. Actually, that is my table of contents. I'm not really going to start there. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my guides so I can see these. This is where my text is going to start. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click on the anywhere inside my destination, clicking once on the output, and notice that you'll get this little cursor that has a text graphic or icon on it. As I go into the destination, I can click here, and again, so going from my output here all the way down to, I'm going to go to here actually, because my pull quote and this intro are separate, and I end up just kind of pulling those texts from the document because they don't flow in the actual flow that the rest of the content does. So that has now given me, I'm also going to give myself a header across the top here that I can work with. Notice that automatically when I pulled a text box here, and these guys are also 2 columns. Don't want 2 columns there. I want that just to be 1 column. So just be mindful when you're adjusting. Now, I've had students ask me, well, why wouldn't I just make these single columns? So make this a single column text box and then duplicate it to a single column. Sure. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. It's not the most efficient way to do it. If you know that you're going to flow onto different pages, or as mentioned here, I'm going to have an intro and maybe a pull quote, so I might have those in 2 separate, and then manage the flow of the body of the text as 1 unit. The goal here is to minimize the amount of single text boxes that you have in your layout. All right, I'm going to stop there, start the next video when we start to populate the content.